Yes. Bill, can you hear me? I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting. I have 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. It is 6 p.m., November 23rd, 2021. I want to take this opportunity before I forget to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. We have a very busy meeting tonight with lots to cover. And I am going to begin by asking all of you, if you will, to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and do the roll call. Councilman DeYoung asked at the last meeting that he be excused, so he is excused at this meeting. And I will begin with you, Councilman Chuck Owen.
Here.
Councilman Glenn Allen.
Here, Mayor.
Councilwoman Joellen Kesty.
Present.
Councilman Brendan McGoffin.
Present.
Councilwoman Sarah Diamond.
Present.
All right. And later tonight, we will be swearing in our new council member, Nick Lavaca. So that's up and coming. Okay, so looking at the approval of the agenda, I only have one request from the council, actually two. So one thing that I neglected to do, and I think it's because it's just so hard for me to say goodbye, is I did not put on here that we will be doing an award, a presentation to Doug. So that will be coming after we swear in the council members. And also under new business, as you look at the first one, the closed session discussion, I am going to move that, I would like to move that, if it's okay with the council, from item 1 to item 5, so that the public doesn't have to sit here and wait while we are in closed session making a decision. So, all right, with that, I am looking for an approval of the agenda with those changes.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I'll second that.
All right. I have a motion by Councilman McGoffin, seconded by Councilwoman Diamond, with noting the changes in the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item E, consent agenda, items 1 through 7. Looking for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Councilwoman Kesty, seconded by Councilman Allen, to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Okay, now on to some of the fun stuff. So tonight we are going to be swearing in two of the council members that you already see up here, and the reason that we are swearing them in tonight is because they were appointed and to the position and then chose to run for it in this last election, the 2021 election, and they, of course, are here. The public actually ran unopposed, right, both of you? So that's fantastic. Everybody knew that they were brilliant women who were going to serve the council. So we are going to be swearing them in, and then also Nick Lavaca, who ran for the position of council at large and did receive. So if I could ask all three of them to come forward, please.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we start one at a time? And I have, first on the list here, I have Joellen Kesty. So if you want to step forward, raise your right hand. Do you want to come over here by the mic? next chair. All right, people can hear you do your.
Oh, okay.
All right. I, Joellen Kesty,
I, Joellen Kesty,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws of the State of Washington
and laws of the State of Washington
and all local ordinances,
and all local ordinances,
and that I will
and that I will
faithfully and impartially
faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge
perform and discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Council Member Ward 2
of Council Member Ward 2
for the City of Sedro-Woolley,
for the City of Sedro-Woolley,
Skagit County, Washington,
Skagit County, Washington,
according to the law
according to the law
and the best of my ability and understanding.
and the best of my ability and understanding.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I neglected to, you and I will need to sign, so you want to wait till after the council meeting to do that, or, okay, we can do that. Next, I have Sarah Diamond. Raise your right hand. I, Sarah Diamond,
I, Sarah Diamond,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws of the State of Washington
and the laws of the State of Washington
and all local ordinances,
and all local ordinances,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge
perform and discharge
the duties of the office of Council Member Ward 3
the duties and office of Council Ward 3
Perfect, thank you. For the City of Sedro-Woolley,
for the City of Sedro-Woolley,
Skagit County, Washington,
Skagit County, Washington,
according to law
according to law
and the best of my ability and understanding.
and the best of my ability and understanding.
Congratulations, Sarah. It's good to have you on board. And next is Nick. Welcome, Nick. Thank you. Put up your right hand. I, Nicholas Lavaca,
Nicholas Slavaka,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the State of Washington
of the State of Washington
and all local ordinances,
and all local ordinances,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
perform and discharge
perform and discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Council Member at Large
of Council Member at Large
for the City of Sedro-Woolley,
for the City of Sedro-Woolley,
Skagit County, Washington,
Skagit County, Washington,
according to law
according to law
and the best of my ability and understanding.
and the best of my ability and understanding.
Welcome, Nick.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
And you can take a seat up right. Oops, and I already put it down there. Good. Okay. Put myself there. I need Seth to come forward, please. So I have to say, and this is going to be so hard for me, because I have greatly appreciated working with Doug. He first came on, he came to us from Anacortes, or not from Anacortes, from Oak Harbor, and he came to us as a finance director. And after a couple years, when our current city administrator moved on to another position in Port Townsend, I asked Doug to come on as our city administrator, and he said he would think about it, and I thought, oh no. And after a time, he gave me a call and he said, I've spoke with my family and we've decided that this is going to be okay. I'm going to do this. So Doug came on, and he came on, and I want to say that he is the guy who actually brought us into the 21st century. So we have a joke about our personnel manual. It was 8 pages long. That actually, I'm not exaggerating too much. It was pretty slim. But there were a lot of things that the city, over time, it just, we get busy and we forget about the minutia, those minute details that really need to be taken care of and help the city run efficiently. And Doug, with his magnificent skills, I mean, not only is he brilliant, for those of you who don't know, he has a doctorate, a PhD. He's actually Dr. Doug Merriman. He actually did 2 jobs for us for almost 2 years, both as a finance director and also as a city administrator. And I can't even begin to express all the things that he has done and how honored I am that I've had these last 4 years to work with him and to get to know him as an individual, because for as much as he is brilliant, he's also just that much of a wonderful human being. So, Doug, it's, I always joke about these plaques because it seems so insignificant to hand to somebody who's been so dedicated and has given so much. But I hope you know that this comes with great respect and that we really honor everything that you have done for our city. So it says, in recognition of outstanding service, and outstanding should be underlined because that's really true. Doug Merriman, PhD, City Administrator and Finance Director. He came on May 1st in 2018, and his last day is actually the end of this month, the 30th. In grateful appreciation for the professional and exceptional accomplishments and contributions you have made to help move the city forward. Your dedication to excellence will continue to move our departments and the city of Sedro-Woolley towards positive growth and success. With much gratitude and respect, the citizens of Sedro-Woolley, the city council, the administration, and myself. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My inner introvert is screaming right now, but it's, I was thinking about today, when I first went to work at the city of Bellingham was my first city job. And I thought, wow, I'm watching all these people retire, and that's a long ways away. And here I am 28 plus years later, and it's my turn. And when I thought about it, you think of all the projects and all the people and things that you work with and do that. But I think the thing that stands out the most, it's the relationships you make. And it's the people in the community you get to talk to and meet and hear their dreams and what they would like to do with the city. It's the mayor and the city council and all the teammates I have here. And I think when I think back, that's what's most important and means the most. So I really appreciate the chance I've had to work here in Sedro-Woolley and do this. And it's been really neat. And I'm not going to be a stranger around here. So thank you very much.
Okay, I think okay, good. So now we get to have a wonderful presentation. We actually have the executive director from Friendship House here, Tina Tate, and it's the Friendship House that is actually managing the Skagit First Step shelter that is in Burlington. And about 3 or 4 months ago, I believe it was, the council members here actually contributed that. They wanted to support that, and we actually voted to send some money to support that. So Tina is here to give us an update on what that is all about. So Tina, I'll let you take it from here. Thank you. And I apologize, I turned the mic, so you may want to turn the mic back so that people can hear what you're saying. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that good?
it sounds good. I think Bill will let you know if you need to speak into it or something.
Okay, and I'm hoping he's got the video ready. I'm not sure where we're at with, oh, good, perfect. First of all, I want to thank the City Council and the mayor and the city, everybody, for contributing to the Skagit First Step Center. This center is a place that Skagit County has lacked for many, many, many years. A place where we can bring people in for their first step in recovery, in getting them off the street and giving them a glimmer of hope to go further in their recovery, mental health recovery, whatever their needs are. We do have 5 cabins that we reserve for law enforcement. And this is where law enforcement can bring folks that they come across on the street, maybe in a place that's inappropriate for them to be, and they can bring them to the First Step Center, which is something they never had before. Law enforcement never really had a place to take people to. And I know that Sedro-Woolley Police Department has utilized that several times. And so it's kind of an outlet for the police department as well as just in general getting people off of the street. We do have plans for the building. There's a 6,400 square foot building there. Mayor Sexton and I are working on, we're going to tear down the building. It's an old metal, it was an auto shop and not very functional. So it's going to get torn down and we're going to rebuild it up. The first floor will be a parking garage, and then we'll have 3, 4, maybe 5 more floors with different places for people to meet with counselors, have addiction services brought in, and meal service, clothing. We'll have a medical center. All the different things that they might need will be in this building. And it will be a more appropriate place for people to be and give them more dignity than what they currently have. The video that I'm going to show you really tells the story of the center and what we're doing now, but I will tell you that this first step, we've gone through a 30-day cycle or a 90-day cycle. That's how long they can stay, except for the law enforcement drop-off. That's night by night. But we've gone through a 90-day cycle, and the people that were in there have come out homeless again. And we have most of them in hotel vouchers right now through the winter. But until we address the housing shortage, and most importantly, low-income housing, this is going to be a cycle that will continue because there just really isn't anywhere for people to go, even if they do get back on their feet. So that's a subject for another day. Anyway, I wanted to show you the video so you can kind of see what people are going through. I think I'll sit down while the video is playing, if that's okay. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
So let's roll the video. Or maybe we're not.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't get the video to go,
I was homeless
oh, okay.
as a child. My mother was very abusive to me as a child.
Oh, no.
So I became homeless at the age of 10 years old. Because I had to live outside where it was safer than being inside my house. Right?
I became homeless on March 9th when my house caught fire and burned down. I lost everything I owned. And so we decided to go camping. We drove across the United States, me and my dog, and came back here when the funds ran out and slept in the car until this place came about.
My mom passed away in September 24th of 2018, and we were in the process of being evicted at the time. And I ended up being escorted out of the house or apartment on November 2nd of 18, and I've been on the streets ever since.
I took care of my mom for 4 years. She died, I can go back to me memories. I've been homeless for 2 years now.
So there are a lot of factors that drive homelessness in Skagit County, and in our area, homelessness is a really complex societal issue, and I think we often tend to focus on the societal side of that, so looking at key drivers like drug and alcohol issues or mental health. But regionally, when you look at the causes of homelessness, a lot of it is tied back to a lack of housing that people with lower incomes can afford.
A large population is the elderly over the age of 60 that are on fixed incomes and can't afford to rent anything in today's housing environment. There's a lack of housing and there's a lack of affordable housing.
My name is Wade Colbeck, and I generally just try to find some place out of the way. I take home right around $1,000 a month, and that's just doesn't seem to be enough for an apartment, unless I could find something, housing of some sort that's compatible, like 400, 500, something like that, so it doesn't take all my money.
Being homeless has a lot of effects on people, both with their mental health. It's very traumatic. They're a lot more likely to be the victim of a crime. They're vulnerable to the elements. Their belongings get stolen. Their medications that they need get stolen. We know of a lot of homeless people who have cancer, diabetes, are on oxygen, and it's really hard to manage those health conditions when you don't have a warm bed or a place to store your medication and that kind of thing.
At the beginning, it was like being dropped on the dark side of Wonderland. I mean, I got a rude awakening. I mean, I had what I called willful blindness. I knew homelessness, existed in the county, but I didn't see it. I'd see the people on the street, and I believed the stereotypes about, drug and alcohol, and that's why everyone's on the homeless and blah, 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 blah. And then I landed right in the middle of it, and I'm like, okay, this isn't what I was told growing up.
The First Step Center is a first of its kind in Skagit County low barrier shelter for our houseless neighbors. It provides cabins, is what we're calling them, which is small living quarters, and wraparound services. We are providing mental health, addiction, as well as job placement and any other services that we can come up with. We'll be providing them with case management to figure out what their needs are individually and then connect them with the services that can help them.
I was the guy for a long time that was not in my city, not in our county, not here, not there, but sooner or later nothing gets done, and that's the easy thing, is to say no. And so when I saw this, realized this property could be utilized for this purpose, it just seemed like the natural fit. So that's how it kind of all culminated last year, actually.
Well, I've had people yell, "Get a job," from their cars when I flow in a sign. I've had people just not even, they basically ignore me. as a human. And it's like very few people will actually come out here and talk to us or talk to me. And when they do, they judge me for my past.
Every person who's experiencing homelessness has a unique story of their own. I think it's easy to generalize why people are homeless or why they can't get into housing, but I think it's pretty complicated, and there's a lot of reasons.
I'm a biker with tattoos, been to prison. So their perception of me is just from what they look at, what they've seen on TV, without spending any kind of time to talk to me to see if I can have an intelligent conversation with anybody.
A lot of people just can't believe that someone in as bad a shape as I'm in would be homeless, that, you know, they think someone would put them in some kind of housing situation, and that's just not the truth. There's at least 3 people I know on the street that are permanently in wheelchairs.
There's a lot of perception that people who are homeless travel around a lot and may come to Skagit County. If we build a shelter, it'll draw people into our county, but we know, through local data and national data that most people who are experiencing homelessness became homeless in the same community where they're at. And then we also know that people who are homeless aren't any more likely to commit crimes than people who have housing, with the exception of getting charges for things like trespassing or trying to find somewhere to sleep where people don't want them.
A lot of us are just people trying to survive. We fly a sign because we're hungry, not because we want to buy drugs, or we need gas, or whatever.
It's been overwhelmingly positive from the public's point of view. The number of donors that have private donors who have come forth and donated, tens of thousands of dollars to this already, just for the capital cost. It's been overwhelmingly positive that way.
I do think it's making a difference. We have had pretty much all of our residents here just express gratitude. This shelter, we just wanted it up just to get people off the streets. So there are a lot of things that we didn't think about, and some of those have come, they've asked us about it, like, oh, what about this, what about that? And we're like, oh, we didn't really think about that, but that's a good thought, and I definitely think it'll better the facility in the future, just kind of working out those kinks. But the residents are extremely grateful for the shelter opening when it did.
You're the people who were behind this. I want to thank them, because now I can get in touch with people who I need to get in touch with and see if I get my permanent place to stay.
It's making me learn that there's not all bad people in the world, because I've only known a lot of bad people. I'm also a domestic violence survivor. So, it's hard to trust people when you don't know where to turn, especially.
When somebody comes to the First Step Center and they receive services and case management, the idea is that we'll be able to move them into Friendship House core shelters or some other shelter service after the 90 days and elevate them to the next step, the next level, and ultimately back into the community as a thriving member.
I want to transition into some permanent housing, and they offered me a job. I filled out the application yesterday to work for the security company, so I'm hoping that pulls through, and then with that and my disability, I should be able to get a house and get out of this situation.
Be careful. It's so easy to become homeless. Just one paycheck, one getting laid off. It's real easy to become this way. You think I like dressing like this?
Don't judge a book by its cover. If you can help these people, help us through resources or education or whatever it might be, then by all means do what you can to help people, because that's what we're about, right?
Just don't judge everybody. We're not all the same out here. come out and speak to one of us. Learn to come to us personally and not, oh, you're a drug addict or you're alcoholic because you're on the streets. We're not all the same.
We aren't here to rob you. A lot of us are just down and out. If you want to get rid of homeless people, you need to help homeless people. We're not gonna just disappear.
There's no one cause of homelessness, and there's no one solution to homelessness. We have people who suffer things in their childhood. We have people who have lost their jobs and just need a respite to get back on their feet. We have folks who have mental health issues. We have folks who have substance abuse issues, absolutely, or a combination of any of those. It's a very complex problem.
I think there's probably not one specific way forward. I think we need a supply of additional units kind of across the income spectrum, across what we call the housing continuum, everywhere from market rate units for purchase all the way down the income and service spectrum to housing that's available to people with lower or no income. And in order to make a difference in Skagit County, we're going to need additional housing stock across that spectrum.
That I can get off the streets, so I don't have to worry about my health problems causing me to end up dead somewhere in a ditch.
Was put together by the Population Health Trust, and Bob Boyd with Transmedia Vision did the video, and he did a great job. These are the people that we're serving in our First Step Center. There are many with substance issues. There are many more with mental health issues. There are many who don't have any of the above. In order for us to be able to use this center to help cities in Skagit County with the Boise decision, which is something that prevents law enforcement from removing individuals in undesirable locations if it's public property, it had to be low barrier. So we had to make it a low barrier, but it's a good thing that it is because we need it here. And the people that we're serving are not dangerous. We have had no issues there. And they are hopefully going to be getting the help that they need. Not all of them, but hopefully at least some of them at some point. And that is my presentation.
Oh, Tina, it was quite moving, and I think it was quite revealing too. Being introduced to, I think, what most of us do not perceive as being a typical homeless individual. So I appreciate the video. I want to open it up just briefly to the council. Do you have any questions or comments for Tina? Okay. If not, I want to thank you again for being here, and really, after watching this video, very excited that we had the opportunity, if only for a little bit, we were able to donate something to help out. So,
well, I'm very, very, very grateful to all of you for your support in this project, and hopefully in the future to come, we can make something really meaningful and impactful from this location. So,
well, thank you. I can tell you're very impassioned by it, so thank you.
Yes, very much.
Anyway, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will now be moving into staff reports, and I will begin with Chief Wagner.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good news on the COVID front. Our numbers were spiking way up there for a bit and now are starting to decline like the other counties around us. Unfortunately, we had a 7-day period there where we had 10 deaths, which was at a high that I don't think we had seen since this pandemic started. And just wanted to give a hats off to all of the city departments and citizens of Sedro-Woolley in this last week, where we've endured in the middle of a pandemic, a flood, a sewer emergency, a windstorm, and numerous traffic concerns with only having Cook Road available. And as usual, the community stepped up and all the departments worked together as a team. And the fire department, we're continuing to work on recruitment for staffing with the highest demand being our resident volunteers, folks that come in here and live in our stations and work as volunteers for the fire department. And again, thank you to Dr. Doug Merriman for everything he's done for the city and for staff development and taking us under his wings and teaching us some of his financial genius. Thank you, Doug.
All right, thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for Chief Wagner? Okay, moving on. Chief Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say the same kind of thing about Doug. Some or most of you probably don't know this. Doug Merriman hired my wife for her first job in Washington when we moved here in the 80s. She was a brand new accountant out of college, and Doug worked at Interwest and was key in getting her hired. And she had her first real job working with Doug down in Interwest. Then come to find out many years later, here I am working for him too. It's been a pleasure, Doug. Thank you for everything. And you're going to be missed, but I think you got a good replacement. And Charlie's jumped in with both feet. So we're looking forward to working with Charlie, and we're going to miss you. And only a couple of things for me. Really, the flood didn't affect a lot of what we're doing other than moving in and out and around the city. We did a lot of checking routes and making sure that our best routes in and out of the city. My normal 10-minute commute to work turned into a 40-minute commute a couple of days. But that was really the biggest thing for us, is just getting around all of the problem areas. All of Highway 9 was closed. Highway 20 was closed. We lost access out of town on F&S Grade Road, and we were down to one route out, and that was posing some fairly serious challenges for us. We overcame most of that, and like Frank said, the folks of town stepped up and just kind of put up with a lot of the nuisance. And really, we're just prepping for the next exciting evolution of the Christmas parade coming up in another week or so. So that's about all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for the chief? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We will move on to Director Mark Freiburger. Mark, you're muted. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving to you. I'd like to echo the comments about Dr. Merriman and his impact on the city and on me personally. It's been a pleasure to work with him, and we'll miss him. And we're excited to be moving forward with Charlie. He's coming in with, basically he's come in with a trial by fire with the flood and our sewer lift station problem, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it's been a pleasure to work with Doug, and we wish him all the best on his future retirement. So a number of things have happened that I wanted to bring council aware of, up to speed on at least. First, as you're aware, we had a failure at our West State Street pump station on the evening of Tuesday, best we can tell from pump cycles. And it had resulted in an overflow at the site. This just across from the Snelson's property on West State. We had a limited amount of sewage that actually was able to get into the street and into our catch basins there. We've pumped all of those and cleaned them up. Basically, David Davidson was doing his rounds on Wednesday morning and observed the flow there. He thought at first it was flooding, but he astutely informed Kevin Wynn of the problem, and Kevin responded within minutes and called his crew out, and they started pumping with our pumper trucks, and eventually were using both their pumper truck, their Vector, and then the street department Vector as well, because of the flows coming into that station, and got it under control within 30 minutes. And when they pumped out the valve vault that's outside of the wet well, they found a broken T that had failed at some time during the night and was allowing for almost immediate filling of that station and the overflow. So the crew engaged to make some temporary repairs over the course of the day, and somewhere around 7 o'clock that evening, they were able to restore the pump station to operation on one of the lines. But there was some fairly extensive damage beyond what the repair was able to handle. So in the morning, we declared an emergency. The mayor was good enough to sign that before 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. And we engaged P&P Excavating, our on-call construction services company, to come in and put in some more permanent repairs to the station. We do have, however, some valves that have failed there as well, and so we're going to have to go back again. But we are operating under normal pumping conditions presently, and are in the process of ordering new piping and fittings to replace the materials that are in the vault. We're still doing forensics on what happened there, but it does appear that we had there was Schedule 80 PVC used when that project was built in 21 years ago, and some of the joints on that pipe have actually failed. Something I've never seen before in my career, but there were multiple joints that had failed. First, the one that caused the spill, and then a couple of others as we were disassembling the pipe to do the repairs also failed. Basically, the glue had failed. So there are some additional joints that are still in place that we need to replace there, and so we're scheduling to do that. And so the emergency declaration will actually continue until we get that work finished up, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We've done all of the things that were required by law to do. We informed the Department of Ecology within a half an hour of getting the thing under control, and Kevin had time to actually do that. We've notified all the other agencies in the area that needed to be contacted, and we're working with Ecology to prepare a report on the spill there. We don't know the consequences at Ecology as yet, but this is something that truly was a unexpected equipment failure, no fault of the operators whatsoever. And in fact, I would give kudos to the crew. They were Johnny on the spot on this. They worked, some of them throughout the night, the first night, to effect the temporary repairs and to monitor the thing over the hours before we started the more permanent repair work the next day. So hats off to Kevin and his crew for doing what they did. And they're not done yet there. We'll be continuing to do this, but they're back to somewhat of a normal schedule at this moment. So moving on to some better news. The TIB board met Thursday and Friday last week and considered the projects that were submitted. And Sedro-Woolley's 2 projects we submitted were funded. That includes the intersection improvements at SR 20 and John Liner and McGargle Road. The grant for that application was $2.034 million for a $2.7 million project. So we should be getting a contract in the mail for that in the not too distant future. They also funded a overlay project on Wicker Road. That is a $215,000 grant against a $252,000 project. And that'll provide an overlay on trail from SR 20 to Cook Road, which will happen in 2022. So that's very good news for the city. That's, of course, the next of our Jones-John Liner Trail Road corridor projects. And it unlocks the gate on doing another project we have funding for. That's the shared use path on John Liner. So we'll be selecting consultants for both of those projects sometime in the early spring to design that work in 2023 and begin the construction work in 2024. And other than that, the contractor Faber has mobilized and is hard at work on the new buildings down at the wastewater treatment plant. They actually poured footings for the first of the buildings, the wastewater lab ops building, yesterday, and they're doing site work there. Currently, they'll be moving on to foundation work for the Public Works building next. They should have both of those slabs poured within the month and start bringing the projects, the buildings up from there. And that project is scheduled to complete in the fall of 2022. Beyond that, we're expecting contracts back from Colacuccio, the contractor that was awarded the intersection improvements project at Highway 20 and Highway 9. And so it looks like it's going to be a busy year or two over at that section of the roadway there. We're hoping to space the intersection projects over a 2-year period, with doing the one that's already contracted, hopefully in the last part of 2022, and then the other one at Highway 9 and McGargle in 2023. So that's pretty much all I have. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Hi, Mark. So just the ETA for McGargle and the John Liner Road, the light, then you're thinking that might be able to be started in 2023?
Yeah, if everything goes well, we'll do the design and the right-of-way acquisition in 2022, and then construct it in the summer of 2023. It should take about 2 months.
Okay. And then the Jones-John Liner Road, if all were to go according to plan, when would the ETA for that to be done?
The shared use path part of that, we would likely build that in 2023 also.
Okay.
It's not a complete rebuild of the road. That just builds the path. The funding for the rest of the roadway will follow as we do our continuing fundraising for the corridor project.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Freiberger? All right. All right, thank you, Mark.
Also, in relation to the repair at West State Street, that was a all hands on deck effort. The street department actually furnished personnel to assist with the cleanup and to install the bypass pump. Administration was heavily engaged, and of course the mayor in granting the emergency declaration on that, which was on the consent calendar tonight. So again, we thank all of city staff for participating in getting that important facility back online. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Director Coleman.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, hello. So this week we were very fortunate. We were able to have our new building inspector, Barry Kenning, start. And he's hit the ground running since he's fully qualified and fully experienced. It's really great to have him here doing having a full-time plans examiner and building inspector. We're already able to provide better service to property owners that come in and just have small projects that they need a little help with. So it's been great having Barry around just for a few days already. Last Tuesday night, we had Planning Commission wrapped up their review of the 2021 docket items, which included 2 rezone requests, and those were the only things on the docket. So they had a public hearing for the 2 items, and were able to make a recommendation after a lengthy discussion and thorough review of the information presented to them. So those recommendations will be brought to the City Council in the new year. We still have some state paperwork to take care of as part of the comp plan process. It's a long process, and so we'll bring those recommendations to you in the new year for your consideration. I'd also, as all the other directors have said, I'd like to show point out my appreciation for Doug for all of his help over the years that he's been here. It's been wonderful to work with. Really enjoyed our time working with Doug. Everybody said a bunch of great things about him already, so I'll just echo those sentiments. And likewise, looking forward to working with Charlie. He's already been very helpful and responsive, and I think we're in a very fortunate position to have both of these people work for us. And aside from that, I have more on the agenda tonight. We'll have a public hearing later tonight, so I will stop right there.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Coleman? Okay, hearing none, thank you. We will move on to Director Burton.
Good evening, Mayor and council members, and I want to say congratulations to our 3 new council members. We appreciate your service. It's a very important job that you're doing. I want to say thank you to Doug as well. Although I'm very new, I was so excited to be coming on board to work under Doug's mentorship. And believe me, I have tried my best to absorb as much as I possibly can, but I know there's so much more out there. But he has left a great legacy for me in the finance department. So you don't get too many great mentors, and although I only got one for 6 months, I really do appreciate you very much. So the auditors will be starting their audit on November 29th. So in case any of the council members do get a call from an auditor, feel free to make sure that they're the auditor. And you can verify things, or you can say you need to call me or check with me, because we do have some fraud at times, people pretending to be auditors. So I appreciate you doing that due diligence. I think it's just a financial audit. I know Doug did a great job. It's for 2020, so I know we'll be in good shape. We had our lodging tax meeting last week, and so you will be seeing the recommendations from that committee at the December 8th council meeting. And I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Director Burton? Okay, hearing none, thank you. We will move on to Director Chambers.
Hi, all. So the main things that IT's been working on is moving the core file server data to our new RAID array storage. And going to be doing some repairs on some damage done by rodents to the fiber link out at the solid waste facility. The Comcast Gigabit internet upgrade is now scheduled for December 1st, and I'll be putting out messages to staff just to kind of give everyone a heads up as we get closer to that date. And I just wanted to say thank you to Doug Merriman as well. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I am just so happy for you that you're able to retire, and I'm looking forward to hearing about stories of places you've gone and fun things you've done. And that's about it.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Director Chambers? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to City Attorney Nikki Thompson.
So you're going to hear from me a couple of times tonight. So I will just say that I am incredibly grateful to have had the privilege of working with Doug for the last decade. And I am a much better attorney because of that. And I will miss him tremendously.
All right, any questions for our City Attorney? All right, hearing none, we will move on to City Administrator Charlie Bush.
Thank you, Mayor. Several items this evening. One, we continue to do work on the new OSHA rule on COVID vaccination and testing. While implementation of that is held up in the courts, we're anticipating that at some point that will break free. So we're continuing to do our due diligence to be ready to implement that whenever that time comes. Also working on the interlocal agreement with Fire District 8. That's a renewal of an agreement that we'll be bringing to you next week on Wednesday for your work session. So stay tuned for that. We'll have some information in the packet, and the actual agreement will come a little bit later, but we'll get it to you before the meeting for certain. We're still working out a few final details on that. We have our 2022 legislative priorities in draft form as well. We're aiming to bring those to you next week. And we had a debrief on last week's flood and storm event today with staff. And just a few of the items we're going to focus on going forward related to that, where we want to improve. One is communications. Communications comes up in virtually every disaster that occurs as a challenge and an area of improvement. We're no different. So working on both internal and external communications to improve in that area. We are looking forward at some point to a discussion with Dike District number 12. There was some emergency construction of a dike just to the west of us during the flood, and we want to have some conversation with them about that. We have a citywide storm preparation meeting every year with Public Works, and we want to expand that citywide to make sure more of our departments are in the loop. We are looking forward to more emergency operations center experience and training for our staff. So that's going to be an emphasis. We are looking forward as well to closer coordination with Puget Sound Energy when they have down lines to make sure our Public Works Department is in sync with them. And we're also working on some additional procedures for our wastewater treatment plant related to flood levels and what that means for their operations. With that said, definitely cannot stop talking without mentioning Doug. I've only known Doug for a short period of time, although he was known certainly well around the state before I got to work with him. It's been just a few months, but Doug has worked incredibly hard to help make for a smooth transition for the city. He's worked a lot of long hours for that, and I'm just super grateful for that, and I wish you all the best, and congratulations on a great career.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Bishop? Okay. Hearing none, then I am going to turn to you, Dr. Doug Merriman, and I'm going to give you the last word. Do you have a last report for us?
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. As you can tell, Charlie and I have been working really close on transitioning. He came down to my office this last week and poked his head in the door, and he said, "Really, Doug, a flood, a broken sewer line in my first week?" You know, it's kind of like, thanks. But he's taken it totally in stride and everything, and I think your city team did a great job and everybody pulling things together. And the debrief today, it was really exciting to see everybody being really engaged and working on that. So you guys have a great team here. That's really good. So I just have a couple of items on the agenda tonight, and I'll be wrapping those up with you a little bit later, so we'll talk more then.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Merriman? All right. We will move on to council reports, and I'll begin with you. Welcome, Nick. I should say Councilman Lavaca.
Well, thank you very much. Is this on?
Push the button, the white button. There you go.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. First, I do want to thank the people of Sedro-Woolley for allowing me this opportunity. It is very humbling to be able to be here and be voted in to represent you, and I really thank all the people of Sedro-Woolley for this opportunity again. I also want to thank the council. I think that in the videos and the lessons I've been learning about with the council over the past couple of months and really seeing how you guys work, I'm very excited about it, and I'm very excited to work with you, and you seem like a really great team, and I hope that I can serve this council well and serve the community well. And for the directors, I hope that I can serve you guys and be able to get to know you and understand how we can help you guys do your job better, and or how I can and represent the people that I work with out in public. So I look forward to getting to know a lot more. Obviously, I've got a ways to go. So thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you. Councilwoman Diamond.
Good evening. I don't have a whole lot tonight. I want to first and foremost thank all of the city crews, staff, and the community that worked tirelessly around the clock together providing flood relief efforts. I can't extend my gratitude enough to the community members, the streets and parks, and the sewer line busting on top of all of that, and the administration for coming together and just making things happen and taking care of the community, and the community members that jumped out and assisted their neighbors, and everybody taking care of each other. It's amazing to see, and I really do want to say thank you to everybody for that. I am very happy to see that the Christmas tree is going up. I'm a little sad it's not on a Saturday, supporting the Shop Small, and there's a lot of families and community members that were a part of those Saturdays that are no longer for city reasons, is my understanding. However, I'm happy to see it up. It is a huge blessing to the community, and I believe that it should be there and provide people with some hope that is much needed right now through everything that's been going on. I also want to thank you, Doug, for the short time that we've worked together. You've been a great resource when we've had our communications and checking on me, and I greatly appreciate that. And I wish you well in all of your endeavors and retirement and enjoying life. Yeah, and that's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you. Councilman McGoffin.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. I'd just first like to thank Doug for all your hard work in the city. You've been really helpful getting me up to speed on everything and answering all the questions I have. I really wish you a great retirement. I'd also like to echo the thanks to the staff for all the hard work during the flood and the sewer line break. And lastly, I'd like to thank all the voters and congratulate the council women and men up here. I'm really excited to work with you guys in the next couple of years. Lastly, we did have a few discussions regarding the affordable housing. We will be getting funding moving forward in the next couple of years, so we're starting the discussions with the community, and that will be going into committee. So we hope to update as we make progress on that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Kesty.
Thank you. Gosh, everybody's been stealing all the things I was going to say. So I'm just going to say thank you so much, Doug, for teaching me so many new things and always there for any questions that I ever had. So thank you very much, and happy retirement. And welcome, Nick, to the club. And also, exciting Christmas festivities. We'll start December 4th with our tree lighting at 5 p.m. So I'm encouraging everyone to come out and see the parade and the tree be lit. And there's also going to be kid activities. Ruby the reindeer will be showing up, Santa and his helpers, and some decorating contests and an ugly sweater fun run. So you can check all that out at the Chamber's website. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Allen.
Well, Councilman
Thank you,
Brendan stole all my, number one, Doug, thank you for keeping the city afloat and on a steady keel for the last few years. And I just want to welcome our new council members and Nick, Sarah, and Joellen. It is a good team, Nick. So anyway, be a player. Okay.
All right, thank you. And Councilman Owen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple of things. First, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and I want to wish Doug a happy trails ahead. He's such a nice person. The first time I ever met him, he just made an impression on me. He's kind of a real humble person, and I've never seen him get excited. I'm going to really miss him, and his presentation struck me as a minister, so I named him the Rev, and he's done so much for this city. After following Mr. Berg, I tell you, you made a big difference, and it's too bad you weren't here 8 or 10 years ago. But I wish you the best, and I hope if you're ever around Sedro-Woolley, you give me a call, or if you'll come by the house, I'll feed you. And so you just enjoy your retirement. I know you, with your experience and your brain power, that you're not going to go home and sit in a rocking chair. So Doug, thank you so much for your service, and I wish you the best, man. And I'd like to welcome Councilman back from Mexico. We missed you, and you always add a lot to the council. And I want to welcome Nick to the council. Maybe when this COVID thing gets where I feel comfortable being back there, I'll be setting up beside you. And I know you have a lot to offer, and we look forward to working with you. And I guess that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. So I just have a couple of things. First, I just want to thank Doug again, and also the fantastic example that both you and Charlie set as far as a transition. It couldn't have been more smooth, and the way that you both worked with each other and kind of worked off of each other with ideas and generating some solutions, especially what we went through this last week. It's extraordinary, and Sedro-Woolley is blessed, absolutely blessed to have had you, Doug, and we're extraordinarily blessed to have you, Charlie, come on. And I'm excited. I'm grateful for having the opportunity to work with Doug, and I'm very excited about working with you. We've had some good discussions and some great visions about the city, and I'm looking forward to that. I also want to welcome Councilman Kesty and Diamond back to the council. Good to have you here. And also welcome our new member, Councilman Lavaca. And I agree. I think I have been sharing with people that I actually believe that with this council, we are going to do some really great projects and also do some really good policies. So thank you all for your time and service. I want to thank the city staff for everything that they did this past week. We couldn't even begin to put into words the hours and the expertise and people who know exactly what they need to do when an emergency happens and curtails all those things that would make it worse. So I want to thank the staff for the way that they have worked so diligently this past week, and for their continued commitment to you as citizens. It's really quite extraordinary, and again, not to overuse the word, but we really are blessed as a community to have them. I wanted to give a quick update that was sent out yesterday by Skagit County, and they were just talking about the damage assessment forms for residential businesses and loss. They are accepting them, they're collecting them through the Department of Emergency Management. And you can get the information from Skagit County, the Skagit County Commission, and also for the residents. So if you have suffered damages and loss because of the flooding here in November of 2021, you are eligible for federal disaster assistance as you begin the cleanup. And so I just want to give you a heads up, because you have to have the information in by December 3rd of 2021. And you can actually acquire and complete the form at dem@co.skagit.wa.us. And I will have our IT put this up on our website so that you have this, but it is a place where you can go and hopefully acquire some money and assistance for cleanup if you experience damage. We have the council member, which is very present, and also the planning commission, which I think also you see them every third Tuesday of the month. They do Zoom, and I encourage you to Zoom in and hear what they are working on. But we also have different commissions, and one of the commissions that we have is the Sedro-Woolley Housing Authority Commission. And every year, I have to either renew somebody's term or find someone to fill a position. And this year, Rita Stevenson has decided that she is going to serve for another 6 years. We're very excited about this. So her commission will renew come the end of December, and she'll be with us for another 6 months, and she's been doing a great job on the Housing Commission. And then just one last note, it's actually a great note, but the Department of Ecology would like to congratulate the city of Sedro-Woolley and the Sedro-Woolley Water Treatment Plant for another outstanding performance year. They have received an award for their high performance and treatment facility. This is for 2020. And I just want to say congratulations to the wastewater treatment team. They really are extraordinary, as you have already heard Director Freiburger mention, and also City Administrator Charlie Bush. So just want a shout out to them, because I think that that's extraordinary and fantastic that they have achieved that again this year, or again in 2020. So with that, that ends the reports, and we're going to move into public comment. It is 7:09, and I'm going to open up public comment. If you would like to give public comment, please state your name and your address and try to keep it to 3 minutes. So is there anybody who would like to give public comment? Just a public comment, if you have something that you'd like to state regarding maybe something that's going on in the city or something, do you have something you'd like to share?
Well, regarding the Thompson annexation request, is that?
So I will actually have a public hearing, and at that time, that's where you, if you'd like to, could make your statement. So that's coming up. Okay. I'm looking online. I do not see anyone, and there is nobody coming up to the podium. It is now 7:10, so I will close public comment, and I will open up public hearing. The first public hearing that we are going to have is, it's a second read in this utility rate ordinance for 2022. And so, Director Burton, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, this is a public hearing that, to take community input and regarding the utility rate ordinances presented before you this evening. As you recall, we have had significant education on this topic. We've had a workshop, and then we had a first read at our last meeting. We are proposing a 2.3% increase in the utility rates for 2022. There are 3 reasons that utility rates need to be raised. One of them is related to the cost of goods and services, and as we know, the cost of inflation is over 6% now. At the time we wrote the report, it was 5.5%. The second is the cost of regulation by state agencies. Our utilities are highly regulated by the state of Washington, and so we need to make sure that we meet all of those regulations. And the third is we have significant equipment and infrastructure improvements that we need to make for the long term. And so as Public Works Director Mark Freiburger has shared with you, we have quite a plan for improvements that need to be made. And so to be responsible to our citizenry, we would like to just continue on a gradual pace of reserving those funds so that when the time comes for that infrastructure improvement, we have those funds available to us. So at this time, I'll ask if Mark has any other comments that he would like to add.
I don't have any comments to add. Thank you.
Great. So that concludes my report. Again, it's a 2.3% increase for each of the utilities: solid waste, wastewater services, and stormwater.
Okay. So are there any questions for Director Burton from the council? Okay, hearing none, then I would like to open this up for public testimony. If there's anybody either online or in the audience here who would like to give public testimony regarding the utility tax or the utility rate ordinance, this is your opportunity. I do not see anybody online, nor do I have anybody coming up to the podium, so I'm going to close public testimony. And council, this is your opportunity now to deliberate on this, if you so choose.
I have one statement that I'd like to make.
Go ahead, Councilman Owen.
This recycle program, I would like to have the figures of how much it's cost the city in the last 5 years. And I wouldn't be surprised if it ain't up around $750,000 to have that program in operation. And it's been in a tailspin. And now basically the only thing you can put in your recycle is water bottles, milk jugs, and paper. And I think it's a lame duck. And I would like you and maybe Charlie to look into it. I'd like some figures to see how much it's cost in the last 5 years. I know the garbage rates and stuff like that, they go up. And I'll vote for that. I'll vote for it, but I want to see those figures, and I don't want to forget the recycle program because I know it's a bad deal. So that's all I have to say, and I would like to see some figures from you and Charlie, maybe, if you would, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman McGoffin, I saw you lean forward. Did you have a comment that you wanted to make?
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to concur with Debbie. We had talked about a little bit before too that, this is a necessary upgrade to just keep up with the inflation. The only question I had was for people on fixed incomes. I know on like property taxes, there's some exclusions. Does that apply to utilities or is that not applicable?
Yes, we have a program also at the city for reduced fees for lower income.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So is there anything else? Councilman Lavaca?
I don't know enough about the process. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm sure that we're at the second reading or whatnot. So, and as I get more able to read in advance, then I'll have more. But like Brendan was saying, will they have access to that online? Will it be easy to find, such as the other?
Absolutely, and our staff is available anytime to help any citizen that has questions.
So we would be able just to refer them or to help them contact you?
Yes, please have them call the finance department. We coordinate with the county on the so if they qualify for property tax, they'll qualify for our utility reductions.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I know you were a little disappointed a couple weeks ago on the property tax vote. I have no problem with utility taxes. I don't have any problem with impact fees because I'm using the sewer, I'm using the garbage, I'm using all of these different departments. And I think what we have proposed will keep them solvent. And personally, it's not a property tax increase, but I'll go with user taxes and impact fees, okay? And not to ruffle my two council ladies. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So at this time, are there any more comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and you were looking for a motion, is that correct, Director Burton?
Yes, please.
So it looks like we have 3 different motions, ordinances that we are looking to approve, and the first is the motion to adopt ordinance number 1997-21 in the increasing the 2022 fees and charges for the use of the City of Sedro-Woolley's sanitary sewer system. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilwoman Kesty, seconded by Councilman McGoffin, to adopt ordinance number 1997, increasing the 2022 fees and charges for the use of the sanitary sewer system. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to the second motion, to adopt ordinance number 1998-21, amending section 8.04.05 of the Sedro-Woolley Municipal Code to increase 2022 solid waste utility rates and charges. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right,
Madam
thank
Mayor.
you. So we have a motion by Councilman Owen, seconded by Councilman Allen, to adopt ordinance 1998-21. Any more discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And the last motion, a motion to adopt ordinance 1999-21, amending the 2022 fees and charges for the use of the City of Sedro-Woolley storm and surface water utility system. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Councilwoman Kesty, seconded by Councilman Owen, to adopt Ordinance 1999-21. Any more questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to our second public hearing, which is proposed 60-acre annexation submitted by Laura Hanson and possible adoption of Resolution 108221. And I'm going to open this public hearing for that, and I believe this is yours, correct, Mr. Coleman?
Correct. So thank you, Mayor. So what you have in front of you tonight is a proposed annexation of about 60 acres north of city limits, roughly north of the Cambridge Commons subdivision that is north of Jones Road, and westward to Garden of Eden Road. It doesn't include all of the properties in that area, so the map's pretty handy in this situation. So we received a initial request from the Hanson family, Laura Hanson, to annex her property, which is roughly 42 acres in this area, last summer. As part of that request, there's also the roughly 10 acres owned by the Mumfords that are in between Cambridge Commons and the Hanson property, that the city has a no protest to annexation waiver that was signed many years ago. It enables that says that the city can sign for them in any annexation request. So when the proposal was brought to us last summer, the city council reviewed the roughly 53-acre annexation proposal and at a public meeting at the September 23rd, 2020 council meeting. The council passed a unanimous motion to approve the annexation to continue and for the mayor to sign the annexation petition on behalf of the Mumfords. And so at that time, the Laura Hanson started speaking with other property owners at the request of the city to see if there was anybody else in the area that wanted to annex in, and then also drawing, and then through that process, working towards drawing a logical line around the annexation area. So ultimately, through their work and asking for petitions, they came up with the area that you see on the map today. It's a fairly logical area, and it doesn't jog all around. It kind of completes some square corners and shows access for a good frontage along Garden of Eden Road. So we received this annexation proposal, and the city signed the petition for the parcels that we had already agreed to do so, and sent this information to the county assessor to certify the annexation petition. So 60% of the property, the owners of 60% of the properties within the annexation area are required by state statute to sign the petition. So that's what the assessor has certified, and there are roughly 80%, a little over 80% of the proposed annexation area has signatures on those parcels. So that means that 80% of the people in the area have signed it, and there are two parcels in the 60-acre area that the property owners did not sign a petition for. Now, according to state statute, only 60% need to sign, so as part of the state rules, they allow for a few property owners to not have to sign a petition and for their property still to be annexed in order to accommodate annexations that when a property owner doesn't want to sign and it doesn't make a logical boundary, or if it, for whatever reason, sometimes property owners all around somebody wants to annex and you can't leave an island of somebody. So that's why the state statutes allow for 60%. We shoot for a higher value than that, and in this annexation, it's 80%. So the list of the property the petition is in the packet that you received today. It shows all of the properties with annexation, with the signatures from the property owners. And as I said, there were 2 property owners that did not sign the petition.
Are the Teresa and David Johnson on there?
I-
I was told that we signed it in approval and we did not.
There is Teresa, the Johnsons are not on this annexation petition.
So this is not the time to be interacting with the director. You will have that opportunity when I call for those who want to come up and give public statements. So, Mr. Coleman, you want to finish your report, please?
Yes. So as I said, this is roughly 60 acres. Tonight is you're asked to pass a resolution supporting the annexation petition, at which step, if the council does pass this, as they had said that in the past that they were interested in this annexation. So if the resolution passes tonight, the next step would be for the documentation to go to the Skagit County Boundary Review Board for their review. The way that works is it goes to the Boundary Review Board, and they have 45 days to decide whether or not they're going to look in to have any of their own review of this process. And if not, then they'll send it back to the city after 45 days, at which time the city will be able to pass an ordinance that would actually pass the annexation. So tonight's just a resolution saying, yes, in principle, we do want to annex this property. So, when we do get to the ordinance part, if we pass this resolution, we've pretty much committed to the annexation. So after the hearing, you'll be review that you'll entertain the resolution. As I said, there's more steps, and then some of the common questions that we get with an annexation is, when it's annexed, does that mean that we're going to start building roads and bringing sewer out to any area? And the answer is no. These development anywhere in the city is driven by developers. So no actual building of roads or sewers or anything like that would happen until somebody in the area proposed, say, a subdivision. And this area is proposed to be, in our comp plan, our residential 5. So if it were to be annexed, it would be residential 5, which is primarily our single-family residential zoning. Right now, under standard subdivision regulations, subdivision in the R5 zone would be 8,500 square foot lots, which is roughly 1/4 of an acre per lot. So they're fairly large lots, similar to what you see in the Cambridge Commons development just to the south of this proposed annexation area. Now, under a planned residential development proposal, you can get lots down to like 6,600 square feet in this neighborhood and some townhomes. But it's strictly 5 units per acre is the density factor. So in this, under no circumstances would it be more than 5 units per acre. So over 60 acres, that would be an absolute maximum of 300 residential units. So what we see generally in a development is far fewer than that, because they have to build roads and stormwater and play areas and parks and stuff. So, at least 10 to 25% reduced from that is what we typically see. So that would be more in the neighborhood of 270 to 225 units. And that wouldn't be built all out at once. This is what the potential would be over the long term. Now, this area is part of our urban growth area, and it has been for quite some time. So when an area is part of the urban growth area, that means the city has studied the area for its potential for development. So we know that we can serve roads in the area. We have a plan for how sewer would be served into the area. And we know that our sewer plant has the capacity to handle it. And through collection of connection fees for sewer, through collection of transportation impact fees, when development does happen, we use those fees to improve our regional transportation and police and fire, et cetera, that is necessary to serve the area. So the city has reviewed this, has planned for this area to come into the city, and does have the capacity and has plans for how to accommodate the future growth and mitigate the impacts of any of that growth. Are there any questions?
Yeah, John, if I recall correctly, I think you brought this up last year, which I was pretty newbie. But I think Ms. Hansen had really kind of said that it might take 8 or 10 years to develop the what she's proposing, right? Or the Mumfords and Hansens and stuff. You were talking about it was going to be, maybe it wasn't going to happen right away, but it might be over a period of time.
Right. This is a large area, and that would that would take a long time to develop. The Hansens own about 42 acres of it. We don't see developments that large at any time, and they even at a fast pace, they can only build out a few houses a month. But it all is depending on the market, and a large project like that we have not seen in the past. So yes, it would stand to reason that 8 years sounds very very normal time frame, if not longer.
Okay, are there any other questions for Director Coleman? Okay.
Thank you, Brendan. I'll go next. Okay, so I have 2 questions. So one, dealing with the schools and the current zoning for this area would be evergreen. And you know how I feel about that. It's bursting at the seams and the kids can't drink the water. On top of that, we have the issue of Highway 20 McGargyle and being able to get out of there at certain times of the day. It's a nightmare. And so my questions are, Mark, I know that you've had a lot of time in the into the transportation plan, but there seems to be a delay between the paper and reality. And also, so can we support this development with our existing infrastructure until the John Liner Road and McGargle projects are done? And has there been any discussion with the school district on how they would be able to handle the additional students that would come with this development?
So are you asking this question of Mr. Coleman or Mr. Freiberger?
It's kind of like a 2-part thing.
Okay.
So,
well, can I address the schools really quickly? So the schools have just passed a new capital facilities plan. As part of that capital facilities plan, they are increasing their impact fee that they collect for schools that pay for new schools associated with new growth. So that new impact fee for a single family house is going to be about $4,500. So that goes a long way towards paying for the infrastructure that's necessary, the new capital facilities, and I can get you that capital facilities plan, and it will show what that money is used for.
If that's implemented and voted in before this starts.
Oh, well, yeah, we intend to have that to the city council for review shortly. Whereas this annexation, today's a public hearing, and if we were to pass a resolution today and it goes to the boundary review board, we're almost 2 months between now and when they, by the time I get them the report and that 45-day period is over, it's at least 2 months. So this annexation is very slow moving in comparison to our ability to enact the new impact fees for the schools.
Okay.
I think the other question was for Mark.
Mm-hmm.
So, council member, if I understood correct, okay. If I understood your question correctly, it is related to the timing of the project related with the city's transportation improvements, specifically with the Jones-John Liner Trail Road corridor. Obviously, this project would access the city streets via East Jones Road, which is part of the corridor projects. And so I guess in the short term, as I mentioned earlier, we have achieved funding for the traffic signal revisions at Highway 9 and Jones-McGargle and John Liner Road. That'll be built over the next 2 years, should be completed by the end of 2023. The remainder of the corridor improvements, including the undercrossing itself, are not fully funded as yet. We do anticipate that a portion of the new trail road improvements will be finished over the next 2 to 3 years as well. The portion from Jones to F&S Grade Road is actually completed already as a part of the Garden Meadows development. And the next section from F&S down to Cook Road, a portion of that is involved in the Bucko plat. Roughly 2/3 of that road will be constructed as a part of that plat. The timing is somewhat uncertain on that. They're anxious to move forward with that plat, at least the first portion of it, which I'm assuming they will probably move forward with that in 2022. The other portion I don't really know. They've phased it up to 3 phases. Could be a couple more years or more before the last portion is built on that. The undercrossing itself will be approaching legislature, and we'll be talking to you about that at the work session on the 1st. We'll be taking another run at funding the rest of the corridor projects through legislature. And this also, I've mentioned, there's the opportunity coming up with the Build Back Better Act at the federal level, which should provide significant funding for projects of this magnitude and nature. But all of that, of course, is in the future. We don't have a firm schedule on that. We have in our tip that all of these projects would be constructed within the 6-year window, which would be completing them roughly by 2026, 27. They would all be done. John can speak better to the expected timing on the annexation build out, but the way these things generally go, they're built in phases. So I'm thinking you can probably safely assume this will take 3 to 4 years to build out significantly. There's a lot of things to happen yet. The proponent will have to extend sewer improvements from Jones Road, where the existing city mains are located, up into the site. That'll take some effort and time to do. So I don't have a very clear crystal ball on when that plat might actually build out. The proponents could probably speak to that much better than I could. And again, these new lots that would come out of this would each pay transportation and sewer impact fees to support the improvements that the city are making area-wide. In that sense, it's compatible with our comprehensive plan and the road system that's designed in the plan. So anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit of a an answer to what you asked. It's not maybe as clear as it could be, and if I can clarify any further, please just ask.
All right, thank you.
That
Is there-
works. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Councilwoman Kesty?
You were talking about earlier about the, if the neighbors, and if, like, so you couldn't have like an island if somebody didn't want to do something in the middle of it. I'm confused so what would happen to my property then if I didn't want this? You just annex it in anyways because they're majority rules?
That's how the state statute works. Up to 40% of the assessed valued area doesn't have to be signed for on a petition. So on this particular annexation request, there's 2 parcels that have not signed the petition. They equal about 20% of the total assessed valuation of the area.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Councilman McGoffin.
Thank you. I just had a couple of questions. I've been receiving a few comments about traffic with these new developments going in, and so, Mark, I really appreciate those answers. One of the primary comments has been with the Cambridge and this future development in Bucko, and then if we include the Jones-John Liner corridor, all the additional traffic coming down there, do we think that one roundabout will support all those new cars going onto Cook Road?
Yes, I don't think there's a problem if it's built to the standards that we anticipate it will be, and that there will be any issue with the proposed traffic here on that intersection. So no problems on that end that I can see.
Okay, thank you. The second question, I don't really know which director to point it towards. It has to do with the wards. I know Ward 1 has been growing quite a bit, especially with the mixed-use overlay. These two new, the Cambridge and this one here, as well as the Bucko. What's the process if, a ward continues to have pretty large growth in one area and the population of that ward becomes really large?
I can actually take that. So we're required after the census to go through a redistricting process, and we are on notice to do that by November of next year. So we'll be introducing that process to the council as we get into the new year and starting to go through that. And part of that analysis is to look at demographics and to figure out if we need to adjust the lines of the wards.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? If not, then I am going to open this up for public testimony, and this is an opportunity for the public to come forward, and please give your name and your address, and try to keep it within 3 minutes, but if not, let us know what you have to say. So is there anybody who would like to give public comment at this time? Could you step up to the podium, please? I'm sorry, I should have stated that. My apologies.
My name is Jeanette Goodman, and I live on Apple Lane, which is south of this proposed development. One of my biggest concerns is Willard Creek is a fish-bearing creek that runs the map's gone, but runs completely through this property. So I know there has to be 100 to 150-foot buffer. So I'm concerned about how the houses are going to do, how the roadway, how you're going to run the sewer through this fish creek. And because Washington does have ordinances and laws on protection for the fish-bearing creeks. My second one is the road traffic, and how they're going to do it. Where are these roads going to go? Where are they going to come out? Because I know just leaving my road on Apple Lane, traffic comes down Garden of Eden pretty quick. There's not this hard visibility, and there's no shoulder. On Birch Lane, it's actually a lane. It's not a road. It's for fire safety or whatever. But to go 2 cars through there, you can't. You have to pull over and let the other guys go through it. If a school bus is coming through, which they do, it's like, get out of the way. So I'm wondering, how is this traffic? Like she was talking about the traffic going over there. I don't see how that's going to fit into the plan. And it is going to impact our schools, and the fees don't pay for schools. I worked for the school district for quite a few years, and I know it's, Cascade Middle School was filled up almost immediately, and we're proposing 300 houses. That's incredible. So I don't see how you're going to fit it around. My biggest thing is the creek. And running the sewer, how's that going to go? Let's see. And I would like to know who did not else sign. I know the Johnsons did not sign, but so you're talking about your borders. What other family didn't sign so we could see if it could horseshoe around something to help the people who did not want this and did not want to be annexed in. The visibility at the end of Garden of Eden onto Jones Road is horrible, the traffic pullouts. So I worry with more cars, there's going to be an accident because already the traffic is horrible. And, I know for it's his money, his job, that type of thing, but it's our lives and our homes and the noise and the traffic, and that's about all I have to say right now. Thanks.
Okay, all right. I do want to say, just so you will have the information, if you go to our city website, under City Council, we have our packets and agenda.
I did.
And so on page 90, it begins this hearing, and if you follow that, it'll eventually give you the names of those who have signed. Correct, John?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
I had talked to him on the phone personally, and actually he told me that the Johnsons had signed, and I knew that was a blatant lie. And he had told somebody else that isn't here tonight that the Johnsons had signed. And I said, no, they didn't. I know they didn't. So then he went through the paperwork and said, oh, yeah, you're right. I said, I know I am. But, so I couldn't find all that, and I didn't know to go. And that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was 170 pages or plus, yeah. So anyway, just to give you that information so you could refer to it. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to? Yes, please come forward. Name and address. Thank you.
My name is Teresa Johnson, and my husband is David Johnson, and we live 86.
Could I get you to talk into the mic, please?
8697
Thank you.
Garden of Eden Road. And I'd like to go over to the map over here and show you our property, and that the creek presented is not in the correct spot. This is our property here, and the creek, the Willard Creek, used to be called Wallard Creek until about 10 years ago. Someone changed the name. But it goes straight down into our property and conjoins with this part of the creek to go across. This part doesn't exist. So most of this, we have two big portions of the creek on our property. And for many years, we had water year-round. But the last few years, it dries out as early as May. And except for in the wintertime when it rains and it floods, our property here, and I think it's because of all the building that has gone on around us, it's affected the watershed. We have had probably over half of our property, if not more, underwater, which, our driveway is high, our chicken house is high, our shop is high, our house is high, but to walk out down our driveway, which is high, this last week, I was ankle deep in water, which we never used to have that much flooding. And I think it's just with, I don't know waterways that well, but it has something to do with that. But we also do have fish. We have salmon as of this creek. We have had several salmon in our creek. And how is this going to affect, I'm an environmentalist, and I know that over the years the Hansons have pushed the creek with their leveling of the land, making it higher on the south side of us and to the north side of us, have pushed water. We are much, if you take a look at our property, we are really low compared to where they are because of the way they bulldozed tons and tons of dirt and kind of made us into a little sinkhole, which, I love the fish, and I really do. But how is that going to affect the creek? I would like it to be protected. I would like, it goes to the Samish. We are the Samish Creek. And I have, a lot of pets, and how is this going to, all this going to affect, you know, my pets? Are they going to get killed more by the busier road? You know, it's just, are we going to have to pay for, we've got a great well and sewer, are we going to have to pay for city water and city sewer and city garbage? And I just, you know, I don't want to be in the city.
All right, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Is there anybody else who would like to give public testimony?
Mayor, if there is nobody in chambers, I have a letter that we received that I'd like to read for the record as well.
Please do.
Thank you. This is in response to the posting of a request to annex 60 acres to the city of Sedro-Woolley. I am against this request. I worked in Sedro-Woolley for over 30 and continue to volunteer at the food bank and deliver for Meals on Wheels. Even though I do not live in the city, I love the town and its people, and it seems like it is losing its identity. It seems to be a commuter town for Everett and Seattle. I know a family that moved from Bothell and commute to Seattle for their jobs. It seems as though every spare piece of dirt is being turned into housing. The construction in Sedro-Woolley is already insane, and by adding another 60 acres would translate to another 200-plus homes. I know some people say the increase in taxes received will help the city, but there will be need to hire more people in all the services the city supplies, plus the additional taxes for schools, so no one wins. In fact, the extra needs may hurt the longtime residents. Another concern involves the road necessary to get all of these people to the freeway to their jobs. This is the selfish part of me. I live on the freeway end of Cook Road. I could use a stop sign in front of my house some days to get onto the road. If the Cook Road were expanded, it would destroy farmland and many homes. I like where I live and where my family started their farm prior to 1905. It doesn't seem like progress to me. Not everyone needs to live in Sedro-Woolley. Not everyone needs to live in the valley. The almighty dollar seems to be way too important. I really love Sedro-Woolley, have many friends who live there, and do not like to see all the development that is occurring. It has such character, it has some great characters who call it home. Do not destroy Sedro-Woolley. Sandy Tennyson, 19095 Cook Road, Burlington, Washington.
Thank you, Director Burton, for reading that letter from Ms. Tennyson. All right, is there any other public testimony? All right, seeing none, I am going to close the public testimony, and council, this is your opportunity to deliberate on the matter. Are there any comments?
I have some comments.
Yes, Councilwoman Kesty.
As much as I love an R5, I feel it's irresponsible to continue this level of development when we still have major issues with our schools' capacity, our transportation system, and the stress this growth puts on all of our city departments. Developments are coming in and leaving their imprint on our community time and time again until there is no land left and we turn into Marysville or Everett. Without industry or businesses, we will be a bedroom community, taxing out our lifelong residents for the sake of sprawl, and I don't think that's okay.
Anyone else from the council?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman McGoffin.
I just have a question regarding the Salmon Barren Creek. Can we talk a little bit about what we do to protect, if at any?
Yeah, so we'll presume it's a salmon-bearing creek. That's what the testimony has. I haven't looked at.
Excuse me, this is not your time to comment. You had your opportunity.
I haven't looked at the DNR maps to say whether or not this is a fish-bearing stream, but we'll assume it is because that's what we've heard testimony. So with a fish-bearing stream, it would have a 110-foot buffer on either side of the creek.
Excuse me. Thank you. No.
So where the stream is in the field is where the where we would do the buffers. It's 110 feet from the ordinary high water mark. These maps are just maps that were provided to us from state agencies, and there is a margin of error. If they're incorrect, then they will get corrected as they become part of the city and better mapping is available. But right now we're using data from other state agencies. So it's just, kind of best of our knowledge information because this stuff isn't ground truthed. But, if there's whenever a development happens, before a development is allowed, as part of the process, they're required to have a qualified biologist go out to the site and determine if there's any creeks, wetlands, steep slopes, anything that is protected under our critical areas ordinance. And in that report, they'll identify exactly, how big the buffer needs to be per our city codes and address what they're going to do to make sure that that the development does not impact that critical area. So that's what happens with the creeks. We also, of course, have stormwater management regulations. So when property is developed, the development's required to take their water and deal with it on their own site before it's discharged in a slower manner. So it is not allowed to just rush off into streams. We follow the most current Department of Ecology manual for stormwater. So in the past, yes, development would definitely not address stormwater leaving their site, and you see stormwater problems in older neighborhoods, maybe not necessarily in Sedro-Woolley, but just everywhere in general. The current stormwater manuals are intended to deal with that much better. And so it's an entirely different development regime. So the critical areas will be reviewed and protected. So, there's no sewage is going to go into the creek, and there are buffers on the creeks.
Okay, thank you. Madam Mayor, I just wanted to add a couple of things. I know development, especially in Sedro-Woolley, is not always the most popular thing, but I do want to just mention that the flip side to that is we do also have a housing problem. There's a lot of people that can't afford the houses. There's a lot of people that want to buy a house, work in Sedro-Woolley, and live here, and they can't either. I'm not saying we need to be the next Bellevue or Seattle, but we have a real housing problem. And, we can deal with that by also having good regulations and code and planning it out correctly so that when these developments do go in, they're beneficial to the city. They're not just a detrimental impact. And as far as the schools, I know this has come up a lot, and I just want to mention that this is also a school board issue. As a city council, we need to stay focused on city council issues. I know it impacts the schools, but at the same time, our community needs to look at, the levies. We haven't passed levies either, and that contributes to problems in the schools. So I just want to kind of counter that point that I know development and schools are closely linked together, but I also want to just reiterate that we have a school board and they're doing a great job, and I want to make sure that we're working in tandem with them on these issues. And I think that's something we can maybe get better at as a council, but I want to make sure that that is clear as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments?
Madam Mayor, if I can just...
Yes, Councilman Allen. I think you need to put your mic on.
Councilman Allen, if I can just expound on what Brendan was saying, and I realize that Joelle, Council Lady Casca, and Sarah, they're worried about the schools, but the school boards, are totally different than the city. And, I'm sorry, they need to address some of the growth. I've lived here for 70 years. My dad, I was just thinking about it. He was born in 23. He'd be 98 now. and we don't like to see the growth. And I will disagree. A lot of people want to live here so they can commute to work, Brendan. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way of the world. But growth is going to happen. I don't really care for it, but I won't be around another 5 years to worry about it. So anyway, it's, I want Sedro-Woolley to maintain its dignity and its small town flavor, but we can't control destiny at this point. So anyway, I'll get off my little.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Kesty.
Okay, so couple things. I realize that about the school, and we do have an amazing school board. I am trying to show the whole picture and not just the pretty image of a really nicely developed area, because we have, like I said, longtime residents who are being taxed out of their homes. And we're bringing in a bunch of new housing, and I understand that there needs to be affordable housing. However, R5s are going to be set up pretty high in the price point, and it's also not our responsibility to make sure that we can give out every handout available. So I guess I'm looking at it as a whole picture, and Sedro-Woolley, as far as a great atmosphere for our kids, the schooling, the housing, getting out to Cook Road, getting off of North Reed. It's miserable, and I realize things take a long time, but we are adding more and more and more, and then you will lose your small town charm. It will go away, and we will be like Everett and Marysville, and I don't want to see that happen.
Or anybody else? Councilman Lavaca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just wondering if there's a possibility, or if you know, Director Coleman, how many other housing developments in single-family or multifamily homes that are happening in Sedro-Woolley right now that are still under development or under build?
I can think of 3 subdivisions that are under construction right now. Well, 4. There's an 18 lot build out that at Cook and Trail that they're on their last house, so that one's completed. And then the Cambridge Commons is getting near completion, and then there's the McGurgle Road project on Parkland Loop that is under construction. That's less than halfway done, and then on the new North Trail Road in between Jones Road and F&S Grade Road, there's 22 units under construction there. Those are mostly single family, a couple of duplexes in there.
And so for infrastructure, I mean, have we contacted, or I'm sure we have, but do we have that support with the fire department, with the police force, with playgrounds, with an ability to support the increase with continual building?
So the answer to that question is yes. In fact, most subdivisions build their own recreation area that's owned and maintained by their homeowners association. So they're, that's not even a burden on the city. It's their own play area that they maintain. Our comprehensive plan addresses our future growth, as I was mentioning earlier. So all of our new development we have planned for. We're planning for 4,500 new residents between 2016 and 2036. And so with that population projection, we've planned our police and our fire and our roads accordingly, and have financing in place. That's why we collect impact fees, and we're expecting that growth, and we use the growth itself to pay for the growth. The school district also is a partner in that study. They're well aware of what our projections are, and so they also know to accommodate the student growth that's expected over the next 20 years too.
Last question. It's the 2036 growth projection. Are we on scale for that? Or are we above? Are we at like a high and we expect a low? Because it seems like we're under a pretty good growth spurt over the last few years. And I did watch a meeting about the 2036, and I was just wondering if we're projected at this rate to exceed that.
So the growth comes in fits and bursts. From 2015 through 2018, or really even to 19, it was low. And then over the past 2 years, it's been high. And then, so, if we were to maintain this trajectory for 20 years, then we would exceed our projections. But that's not how the growth occurs historically. You don't go on a 20-year run. You go on fits and spurts, and it evens out over the 20-year planning horizon to reach the expected projection. So we are still, we're actually right on target because we were so low in the previous years that, at this point, even with the higher residential unit build out in the past 2 years, we're still on target.
All right, thank you. Any last comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I am going to close the public hearing, and the council now has the opportunity to make a motion. Should the council pass this resolution, 1082-21, stating their intent, the city's intent, to annex the proposed approximately 60-acre annexation and approve the annexation petition, it would move forward to the Skagit County Boundary Review Board. So at this time, is there a motion to pass Resolution 1082-21? Again, a resolution stating its intent to annex approximately 60 acres of real property contiguous to the northern portion of the city and directing staff to forward required annex materials to the Skagit County Review Board. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, for the record, I will be recusing myself.
Thank you. For the record, that was Councilwoman Diamond, and she is recusing herself from this vote. Do I have a motion for the resolution?
Madam Mayor, I will make a motion for the resolution presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. So we have a motion by Councilman Allen, seconded by Councilman McGoffin, to pass Resolution 1082. Again, it's just a resolution stating its intent to annex the 60 acres and moving that forward to the Skagit County Boundary Review Board. I'm going to do this count by an individual. So when I call your name, could you please state, yes, you approve this motion, or no, you do not tend to approve this motion. So, Councilman Owen, do you approve this motion?
No.
Okay. Councilman Allen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kesty?
No.
Councilman McGoffin?
Yes.
Councilman Lavaca?
No.
Okay. So we have a count of 3 noes, 2 yeses, so the motion does not pass. Okay. Is there anything more that we need to do with that? Just verifying. No? Okay.
No.
All right. So we are moving on now to new business. And again, the first one that's listed here, we're going to move down to number 5. So first, we're going to move to the first reading of Ordinance number 2021, Amendment to the Sedro-Woolley Municipal Code, Chapters 2.12, City Attorney and City Prosecutor. All right. And Mr. Merriman, this is yours.
It is mine. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This item is for first read tonight. There'll be no action taken. What this is we are continuing to wrap up our restructuring of our court processes in our legal department. Some of the observations we've had is that we have a contracted city prosecutor who works independently in the court. We also have a city attorney who handles the civil side of the city business. One of the things we've noticed sometimes is the coordination between the 2 legal departments gets a little off. And the reason for that is in our city code, we have in Chapter 2 a city attorney section and then a separate city prosecutor section. And really to function and have some accountability between the two departments, it's nice to restructure those so the city prosecutor actually reports to the city attorney. A couple of things, probably in Sedro-Woolley's history, the former city supervisor, Aaron Berg, was an attorney. So he was able to supervise the different attorneys that he hired to do business for the city, including the contract with our city prosecutor. One of the things that you want to try to do when it comes to legal matters like that is, for me as city administrator, it's probably not appropriate for me to be supervising an attorney and have an attorney giving what should be, objective legal counsel to the city. So for those reasons, and a couple others in your agenda packet, I've listed one, we haven't really ever established officially a legal department. This code amendment does that. The reporting and supervisory relationship has been split. So this code amendment then aligns that vertically where the city prosecutor reports to the city attorney like other cities do. And then we've added in some additional information. We have a number of positions in our city code where it mentions the name, but not much else. So what we want to do is actually fill out the code a little bit so when you have positions like a city attorney, you actually put in there what they do and what their function is and what the reporting relationships are. So Ordinance number 2000-21 lays those out. It effectively repeals what's there now, and then it will put it back together, and we just put in a whole new Chapter 2 that will accomplish those items. That will come forward at your December 8th City Council meeting for your action at that time. So again, no action is needed for tonight. This is first read, and you'll have this conversation a little later on December 8th.
All right, thank you, Dr. Merriman. And moving on to the second, it's the first read, ordinance number 2001-21, PSE franchise agreement renewal. City Attorney Nikki Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So you all have become very familiar with franchise agreements. In the last month, we have successfully contracted with Comcast. And now before you this evening is PSE's franchise agreement. This is a non-exclusive 15-year franchise agreement, which lays out how the city is permitting PSE to use its right-of-way. It talks about rights and responsibilities and permitting requirements, insurance requirements, indemnification, and just essentially what the relationship looks like between PSE and the city. This is on for a first read this evening. It will be on for a public hearing and a second read on December 8th. Beyond that, I'm certain that you've had an opportunity to look over the packet, and if you have any questions, I am happy to answer those either this evening or if you want to contact me offline, that's fine as well.
All right, thank you. And moving on to number 3 here, the first read resolution, number 1080-21, surplus of fire department equipment. And Fire Chief Wagner, I believe this is yours.
Yes, ma'am, Mayor. This is a resolution and a first read to surplus our old self-contained breathing apparatus that we received replacements from on a grant that we got in 2019. And our new stuff was put into service in the end of 2020 when we finally got all the supplies that were lacking because of our supply chain issues over the last couple of years. So we now have these all inventoried and they're ready for surplus to get rid of. And the new replacement SCBAs in the future are now on an ER&R grant, so we don't have to rely on crossing our fingers for a grant in 2030 when they come up for replacement. If there's any questions, let me know.
And this will be on the December 8th agenda, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. And then, Resolution 1083-21, ratifying the November 17th, 2021 proclamation of emergency. Dr. Merriman.
I think that one's actually me.
Oh, okay, Nikki, go ahead.
So this resolution, I'm actually looking for action on tonight. As you are aware, the mayor proclaimed an emergency for the sewer spill that occurred on November 17th. Essentially, when the mayor declares that there's an emergency, that gives the city an opportunity to waive competitive bidding requirements and take emergency action that's necessary to address serious public health and safety issues. After a mayor declares an emergency, it's then the council's job to come back at the next meeting, well, typically the next meeting, and ratify that by passing a resolution that confirms the declaration of emergency. So that's what we have in front of you this evening. Resolution 1083-21 does ratify the mayor's proclamation of emergency, and we are looking for action on that this evening. The resolution and the proclamation of emergency were both attached to your packet. If you have any questions about either one of those documents, I can answer those for you.
So are there any questions for Ms. Thompson? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt Resolution 1083-21, which would ratify the November 17th, 2021 proclamation of emergency?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve 1083-21.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Councilman McGoffin, seconded by Councilwoman Diamond. Any more discussion or any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right, so now we are going to a closed session of discussion. It's a request for approval of the 2022-2023 AFSCME AFSPA collective bargaining agreement. And so at this time, we will need to clear the chambers as I understand it. And then you are on, Mr. Merriman. I'm going to call for a vote.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we are back from closed session, and I will be calling for a vote. I believe Ms. Kesty wanted to say something?
Yes, please. I'd like to recuse myself from this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we are looking for a motion to approve the 2022-2023 AFSCME collective bargaining agreement, authorizing the mayor to sign. Do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Sedro-Woolley and the local 176 SW and authorize the mayor to sign.
Madam Mayor, I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilman McGoffin, seconded by Councilman Allen, to approve the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. And with that, if there is nothing for the good of the order, thank you, everybody. It is almost 9 o'clock. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we are adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.